What is up, y'all? It is your girl Kyra, and today we're going to talk about how I went to 7 concerts and spent $711. Let's get into it. So, as we already know, I am a big concert girly, and if you didn't know that, now you know. And so we're going to talk about every concert I went to in 2024. To start us off, back in March, I went to go see Olivia Rodrigo with Chappell Roan as her opener. And this show was the Bridgestone. And y'all, it was amazing. I absolutely hate that I didn't know who Chappell was until after the show was really over. I was listening to some of her music and it was playing most of her like older stuff and not like stuff from the rise and fall of a Midwest princess. So I was kind of like, I don't know if this girl is my vibe. And then when we got there, it was so good. It was so much fun. I absolutely enjoyed it. I spent $230 to $50 on my ticket. We were lower bowl. Ticketmaster won't show me how much I spent, and I can't find my email anymore. But it definitely was my most expensive concert that I went to this past year. But again, no regrets. It was an amazing vibe. I definitely gave like a 10 out of 10. The venue was so cool. We got to do a lot of touristy things. We were there for the whole weekend in Nashville. She had the Guts World tour bus out, so we got so many photo ops. We also got trading cards, that sort of thing, and it was so much fun. And then next concert I went to was in May to start off Hot Girl Summer with the one and only Megan Thee Stallion. Glorilla was her opener. This was the Memphis show at the FedEx Forum, and I loved it so much. I spent $115 on my tickets, y'all. But I was like in the nosebleeds. Like when you talk about like up there, like Meg lived like a little dot on the stage. It's probably the only time I'll ever pay to be in the nosebleeds ever again. But I absolutely loved every second of it. Glow was an amazing opener. She brought a bunch of local Memphis rappers because her hometown. And Meg put on an amazing show. I think the only complaint that I had was like because we were so far up, the little like screens that they use during like the basketball games were folded, so I kind of had to like crouch down in my seat a little bit to really get a good view of Meg and the other screens that she was on. But I would give that show like a 10 out of 10 probably as well. Like, I don't think anything about it really killed my vibe for real. And I actually ended up, I didn't even stay in Memphis that weekend for her show. Like, I drove there and drove back, and I got back at like 3 a.m. And it was like insane. Like, I was so tired when I got back, but I was like in disbelief that I even saw Meg Thee Stallion. So my next concert was actually in July. So it was like the end of the summer. I went to go see Tate McRae, and I spent like $30-$40 for a general lawn ticket. So she was at the Walmart Amp in Rogers, Arkansas. So if you're not familiar with this setup, it's like a giant amphitheater essentially. So it's like the stage and then like a little section for pits, a seated section under a giant canopy, and then there's like a green little lawn in the back. And then that's the lawn. And so those are always the cheapest tickets. So I paid like $30 to $40 to be in the lawn, and it was pouring down raining, and me and my roommate were out there. And then while we were in line, a girl I went to high school with was selling seated tickets because she couldn't go anymore. And so we messaged her. We were like, "Hey, we already have tickets, but we can pay you like a cut of like money so we can upgrade." And so I paid her an extra $80 to get a seated section. And so we were pretty close. We were like at the end of an aisle, so it was pretty nice because we had easy access to slide in and out without being people's way during the shows. And she did have an opener. I cannot remember his name, but it was like Presley something. Oh, I feel so bad. But he had a good show. He was a great performer, but I absolutely loved every second of it. It screamed my head off like the entire time because I love Tate so much and I love Think Later so much. So that show also probably would get like a 10 out of 10 for me. I just wish I was like a little bit closer, but other than that, I think there's like no complaints. And then next, T in Little Rock, Arkansas at the Hall. and I paid like 53-ish dollars to go see her. I would say that like overall, I would say the show was like probably like a 7 out of 10 in my book, just because like she came out a little later than I think everyone was like anticipating her to, and then she like kept randomly like disappearing off the stage. So we were all kind of like, where did she go? But the DJ was doing his thing, so we were always vibing the whole time. But she was still super great. Energy was great. I loved her vibe. She looked amazing. Body is tea, let me tell you. And the hall, that was my first time ever at the hall, so it was definitely a smaller, more intimate venue. But I thoroughly like enjoyed it. It was really fun. And literally, like I think like a week after this concert, I went to Bentonville to go see Omar Apollo, and I paid like $80 even. My ticket was like 55, and then I paid an additional $10 for parking because this was my first solo concert, y'all. I was so scared because I've never done it before, but I'm grateful it was like in a city that I'm familiar with. And to see Omar Apollo, y'all, I would give that show probably a 10 out of 10. Like, not even a 10 out of 10. Like, I'd give like 1,000 out of 10. Like, it was at the Momentary, which is like a smaller version of the amp. So it's literally like the stage and then like a little section for VIP and then like a like barricade for general admission and then another barricade down the middle and then like more like GA like right there. And so I got right behind VIP and there was not many people in VIP, so I was able to like essentially just kind of like be front row. Like I was a little bit further back, but I was practically like front row. So it was super nice. It was like nice because with it being more intimate venue, it definitely felt more like you were just kind of at like a low key like event. Like he was just up there being himself. He was super funny, cracking jokes, just being super authentic. So it was just kind of nice to have that experience. And with it being my first solo trip, I was so scared. I had like such bad anxiety. But the girl that was next to me was with her boyfriend, and she was super cool. And I got to bond with her and talk to her a little bit. So I was super nice. I think the only downside to this was there was a girl that was next to me who was a little too tipsy and just kept shouting in my ear the whole time. But she was not that bad. And I think towards like mid concert, she kind of realized how loud she was and she kind of like settled down a little bit. But overall, I love the show. The visuals were amazing, vocals were amazing. And the crazy part is, I almost didn't even go to the concert because I was so scared to go by myself. And my cousin was like, I've seen him before. She's like, you have to see him live. It's so different than just listening to his music. And I was like, okay. So I just sucked it up and I went. And I'm so glad I did because it was so good. And then the concert that I went to is the Vitamin String Quartet. If you're not familiar with VSQ, they are people who do the music in Bridgerton. So all of the music you hear in the background, that is them. And it was so cool because they actually came to my college campus. They were on tour and they stopped at my campus for part of their tour. So I only paid $10 for my ticket and I got to sit in the front row. So it was super cool. Only downside was there was no video and photo like allowed in once the concert started. So I don't have any like actual memories from the show. But the energy was so cool. They're super funny. They were cracking jokes in between. Like they were talking to us. We got to know them a little bit more. They played a lot of my Bridgerton favorites. Y'all, they played Thank You Next. And if you know me, I'm a big Ariana fan and I almost shed tears. It was so good. They were even selling like exclusive merch and stuff. And I loved the vibes. I would give that one probably like a 9 out of 10 just because I wish I was able to just record like one song for memories. But of course, I respect the artists and I understand why they do those types of things. But I loved that show a lot. And then my last show of the year was actually Kehlani. They came in Rogers now at the Walmart amp. And it was super fun. I'd give that show probably like a 8 out of 10. I loved the vibe. I loved the energy. I think I was like a little bummed because so like teenage me was like super obsessed with Suicide Squad and like the song Gangsta. And I saw that it was on the set list and I was super excited for them to perform it. And I did perform it, but it was like very short and brief. And I was like, what was that? So I was like really bummed. But I'm pretty sure they performed Open. I don't think Open was on the set list. There was like one song that was not on the set list that they performed. and it was like one of my favorites. So I was super content with that. I was like, you know what, I'll take it. And so that was that show. I think I paid like $70 for my ticket. That was also a seated section at the amp. FLO was the opener, and y'all, I had no idea they were British. Can we talk about that? Like, I've only heard a few songs by FLO, and I vibe. They're a cute little group, and I was like, period. So I got there, they were performing, and I was like, period. And they then started talking, and I was like, what are these accents? I had no idea. But I definitely am been listening to more FLO since the concert. So I definitely had a great time. To rank my top three, I would definitely say Omar Apollo would be number one for me. I think that show was just so special because of it being my first solo trip. When I say like vocals and like humor and visuals, it was just all so fun and amazing. I have no complaints. I will probably be posting. I posted a TikTok after the concert of like all the unhinged moments. I'm probably gonna post that as a short on here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. But it was so much fun. I would definitely say Omar was number one in my book. And then two would probably be Tate McRae, just because again I'm such a big fan and I had such a fun experience the whole time. And then I would say Meg. Like those are probably my big three right there. Sure, I actually have content from Tate's show. So if y'all want a little mini vlog, please let me know. That is the end of the video, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.